Hi, all you heroes, villains, and innocent bystanders. Welcome to another exciting episode of An Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. Unfortunately, you just get to deal with me. I'm Alan the Unicorn. This time, I was at Little Rock Marathon, and I did my 17th full marathon, and got this amazing bling. 5 pounds or 3.5 pounds of awesomeness. Glows in the dark. Space themed. Has a little spinner alien on it. It's pretty legit cool. It's one of my stupid other hobbies besides being a nerd comic book guy. I just like to run really, really far for some reason. I have a lot of darkness to outrun. But it was a really cool medal. Completely horrible race. But you do it all for the bling. So that's why, unfortunately, I don't have a co-host, is because I'm having to do this later than what I normally view. So I alone will be spoiling the books for the week. So if you haven't read your books, you may want to wait and stop the video, read your books, finish those up, come back and enjoy me. I do have some obscure ones this week. I will be spoiling them, so if you don't like spoilers, stop listening. And all of them are digital, and all of them are number ones, which I thought was kind of a unique situation for me. And I'm only going to review 4 this week, since it's just me. And then we'll do my pull list, so that way you don't have to hear me ramble on and on and on and on. So the first one I'm going to do is The Forgotten Queen. It is by Valiant. Teeny Howard and Amlakar Pina. So sorry. I'm butchering the names as usual. They are. This is my first foray into, or my second foray into the Valiant universe. I read Livewire, which was kind of interesting. Not quite enough for me to go back and read a lot of the Livewires or try to figure out what she is. But it was, it was a decent comic book. Just the amount of stuff that I read, it unfortunately it fell to the wayside as something that I put on the back burner. The particular issue I read was not didn't make me want to go back and grab all the other ones. So this one is The Forgotten Queen, number 1 by Valiant. It starts off with these 2 divers. They go down underwater, and while they're underwater, they find something, and then it does this back and forth, flashback, flash forward. So current time, and then the past, current time, and the past. And the past story, they talk about this Genghis Khan, and they talk about him meeting this witch lady, and she promises to bring him some kind of crazy surprise. And Genghis is kind of slightly enamored and slightly annoyed with her because she's very aggressive, and he doesn't like that because she's a woman. He doesn't like that because he's doesn't like somebody to be subordinate to or insubordinate to him. So it's kind of interesting. She says she's going to bring him a prize. She steals this guy's helmet. Then it flashes forward back to current times where they bring up the one of the divers, which is the female diver. They introduce some of the other characters in there, which are all scientists. They're all in this floating research lab. They pull up the female diver, and they realize that what they're looking for could be possibly down there. So one of the scientists is one of the female doctors is saying that I'll tell you what's going on. Follow me. So then they flash back to the past. The witch shows up with this bowl of water in the desert, or this helmet full of water with fish in it. And she said, where can anybody have found water as fast as I could, or as fast as I did? I'd be really useful. And they kind of start her backstory talking about how she's this witch, or this god, or this person that can incite war, or the worst in people. There's a lot of infighting when she comes around. There's a lot of people that just kill their friends, all that good stuff, the fun things. And so it shows her in ancient Greece. Shows her the dawn of time with Cain and Abel, and kind of make it out to be that she's immortal and that she is the one that incited the brother to kill the other brother. Then it cuts back to the Khan part where he's talking about, what else are you going to show me? What else are you going to do for me? And she's like, well, what else do you want? You want water? I'll make it rain. And so she makes it rain. and not dollar dollar bills. She won't make it rain. She made it actually physically rain. And then they flash forward back to present time with the doctor that is kind of explaining things to her team. And she is trying to explain that she's looking for this armor, this set of armor. They have the helmet, they have the chest plate, but in this particular spot, there's supposed to be the bracers or the armbands that she's looking for, and that they are possibly under the water. And they're like, well, if she was in the desert when she lost them, why would they be under the water? Don't really explain why. She just kind of says that they're supposed to be down there. So then they flash back. They show the witch inciting more infighting, and she kind of stirs the army up. And she tells the Khan's like, well, when are you going to send them people out to go fight a war? And she's like, why do you have to worry about it? Because they're fighting each other. They're not fighting you. They're not trying to get you. And the Khan is kind of happy about that he's not having to, fight with her. So then it shows the female doctor that's trying to explain everything about this witch in the past. She goes down, she dives in current times, and she gets to the bottom, and she brings up a body of the guy from the beginning of the book, and inside the guy is inside his chest is one of the braces, and then they show at the bottom of the ocean, they show the witch kind of walking around. And then at the end, they kind of explain that she's kind of immortal. She's this god of war, and then she comes to take over this town, and she asks who their Khan is, and she's like, can I help her? And so the guy goes, why don't you go ask her yourself? And she turns around, and it's this female Khan, and she's on horseback, like balancing on her arms like a handstand, and she's shooting a bow with her feet, a bow and arrow. And so it's kind of like she fell in love. I'm not quite sure where they're going to go with this. Oh, and in the book, back of the book is a Punk Mambo, like a little short story, I guess, to kind of a teaser. And it shows this punk girl. She's got this Oa that is like a big giant, I don't know, ghost creature that helps her, and she fights these zombie kind of guys, these redneck zombie things, and so she's kind of looks like a magic user. So I guess that's a new one that they're going to bring out, but I don't know much about that, but it looks kind of cool. Like, I was kind of interested. And the girl in it has this really big giant pink mohawk, and she's got this like leather and these short shorts and these combat boots, and she's blasting zombies. Sounds like something that's right up my alley, honestly. So with that, like, I'm not quite sure if I would pick up the second issue of this one. Just because I don't think it's that interesting. It's kind of neat, but it's got this one random character that I'm not quite sure where they're going with it. And the past and future, like, back and forth things, I don't feel like it quite works for the book. But I don't think I'm going to pick up issue 2. But it was kind of an interesting read. Something a little different. Not quite superheroes, not quite powers, but kind of sort of immortal god war-esque person. So, I don't know. But the art was really good. The art was really pretty. It kind of reminded me of a Gary Frank art a little bit. There's a couple, like, poses or faces with the female diver that I was like, oh, this is very Gary Frank-esque art. I think they're really talented. I'm just not quite sure the book, if it's a great number 1. But it was still, I wasn't mad that I read it. Just maybe not my cup of tea. So I'd give it probably a 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Probably closer to 2.5 unicorn horns. Just because I don't think I'll pick up the second issue. Because it didn't intrigue me enough to read it again. So my second book for the week is going to be, it's made by, let's see, Space Between Entertainment is the company, and this one is called Prison Witch. It's by Amy Shad and Pat Shad. let's see, and then illustrated by Erica Diurso. So this is kind of like a Orange is the New Black meets Charmed kind of book. The premise is this girl's in prison. She's in she's in a 5-year stint and she's on day 35. It shows her sitting there with her cellmate, and goes on. They go to the cafeteria. She's sitting there trying to read a book, and it's about astrology. One of the prison mates come up and tries to strike up a conversation, and she just tells her to jack off, get out of here. I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm not talking to you. And she she kind of like gives her a little bit of an angry look, and the girl sees some kind of fire demon inside of her. So she gets excited. She goes and tells all her little prison buddies. They've got a little garden, that she thinks that this girl has should be part of one of their group. So you kind of assume, and they kind of imply that they're witches. And then it cuts to a scene where this girl's getting beat up and getting shaken down and in the shower by this other rival gang, and they're accusing her of stealing, and they're beating her up. So the girl that's supposedly possessed tries to stop them, and she tries to help her out, and then the girl's like, I need your help. So she gets mad and she unleashes this fire demon, which shoves the girl into the wall and kind of bashes her head open a little bit. So the dark-headed girl that helped her out earlier kind of gets her out of there and tells her, you should come meet my group. Cuts back to the girl that she actually pushes in the shower, or that her demon pushed in the shower, and shows that she's like, there's a gang member coming to help her, telling her that, she has to prove herself one final time. So she's like, I'm in, I'll come, I'll meet you wherever I need to meet you to prove myself. And then basically they try to entice this redheaded fire demon girl into their coven, which they eventually do. And they kind of tell her, they're like, they do the introductions of who's there and why each of them was there. And then at the end of the book, it shows the girl is trying to get initiated. So the leader of this gang tells her that she has to stab somebody. Whoever it's closest to, they're going to spin a spoon, and whoever the spoon is closest to, that's who she's going to have to take out. Well, the girl goes, can I just pick somebody? And she picks the redheaded fire demon girl. And that's the end of the book. All in all, it's interesting, but kind of weird. Like, I didn't think it was the best premise, but it wasn't too bad. The art was really neat. It's like a black and white book. I'm interested to see what they're going to go with this. Just because I feel like when you restrict yourself to one, obviously prison for 5 years it's quite a bit of restriction as far as like what you can go and what you can do. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go, and if she's the only woman that has powers, she has this fire demon in her, or if the other people have like gifts. So I may pick up issue 2 just to see where it's going to go with this. But I'm worried that it may not be a premise that is going to be able to sustain itself for long terms. So, but all in all, I think it was kind of fun. I'd say probably a 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Different kind of premise, different kind of genres that I haven't seen in comic books before. A women's prison and witchcraft kind of combined, which I think is kind of a random thing. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with it. So yeah, issue 2 I'll probably pick up and see where they're gonna go. The next one I did was let's see, it was Forged #1, and it was by Michael Eckett, and the writer and letterer was Ryan Jenkins, and it is a self-published book. So this one particularly is about this little dwarf that works in a mine. He doesn't want to work in the mine, so he wants to try to figure out what he wants to do with his life. And it kind of reminds me of the the little elf on Rudolph. I want to be a dentist, and like you need to make toys. I want to be a dentist. So it's kind of what this premise is like a little dwarf that's like, I want to be something other than a miner. So then it cuts to this Dracula, overlord creature that's over this town, and his little pig minion who's like questioning him, and he says, "You shouldn't have questioned me." Lets his little monsters kill the guy. Then it cuts back to the little dwarf trying to make his way into the town, trying to figure out his way into the world. He meets this old lady who ends up being a Silky. And I guess like she kind of does like, I was a fish out of water. I shed my skin and let somebody else steal it because I was in love with this person, and that was my way. So I really don't have a home. I don't feel a place here. I don't feel a place there. Sometimes you just gotta make the best of it. And so the dwarf is like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Well, they cut to these this bar where this creature's looking for heroes, quote unquote heroes, but all the heroes have gone on this quest for this treasure. So what he gets is kind of like second-rate heroes or second-rate what's the word? Not quite heroes, but not quite villains. Somewhere in the middle, gray people. And so they've got a little group. There's like a strong guy and a little lizard guy, and they are trying to get this job. It cuts to the little dwarf. He takes a job as a mail clerk in this one place, and he's talking to this ant who is his coworker, like an actual ant, not like somebody's like sister, not their mom's sister. It's not their aunt, but an auntie, like Ant Man. And so this ant is talking to him, and he like figures out a way to get the mail to be more efficient, but then he jacks it up and he gets fired, obviously. Then the overlord that they showed earlier that kind of killed the little pig guy, he has these golems go after. He shrinks them and he sends them out in the world to find something. And while he's doing that, they're finding some kind of spoon or artifact. I'm not quite sure. It wasn't quite as clear as I thought it was going to be. But it shows this dwarf talking to a swindling turtle who's like trying to sell him like an action figure or trying to sell him like illegal stuff, and the dwarf is like, no, I don't know if this is right. Well, the two ogres who they shrank is going to try to catch the turtle. So the dwarf kind of helps him out. He kind of figures out a way to save them. They jump into the river, and then all of a sudden they meet the heroes, the kind of anti-heroes from before, the little girl, the strong man, the lizard guy. So I assume they're going to do a team up, and that's going to be their group, and they're going to do some kind of random adventure. The artwork is really super cartoony, very ill-proportioned, a lot of monster creatures. There's not quite a human creature in it, so it's kind of the world of monsters. So they're all kind of different proportions, like one, Cyclops, there's this duck creature, the lizard guy, the turtle guy, the vampire-esque kind of overlord, the ogres. So it's got a lot of, it looks like monster creatures that they're doing. But all in all, I thought it was kind of fun. Like it was definitely not everybody's cup of tea, but it was a fun read. It was a quick read, and like I didn't feel like there was a lot of weight to everything, so I actually just enjoyed the actual read and not having to worry about 800 things of backstory and all that other stuff. So it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. I don't think this is everybody's cup of tea, but for me, I gave it a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, and I really can't wait until the next issue to see where they're going to go with this. However, I can see it going south really quick, as in where I would not be interested in it if they do a little bit more of a I don't know, kiddie story, but I feel like they could actually have a semi all ages story with a little bit more weight behind it, and I hope they go in that direction. But I'm not for sure, so I look forward to reading issue 2 and see how much further they're going to go with this, and if they are actually going to be a little bit more of a weight to it instead of just a child's book. And then the last one I'm going to review is Sweetie. It is by Action Lab. It's #1 digital release. Art was Sean Dillion, and the co-writer is Stephen Petrovilli. So this one is I don't quite know. It was really odd. I got it because I thought the cover was really cute. It's got this little girl. She looks like a little African American girl, or maybe a little Hispanic girl, with this big giant hair and these big giant sleeves and this really cute little costume. And it's called Sweetie. I was just like, oh, that sounds like super fun. But the actual book is a little weird. Like, I'm not quite sure what they're going for. It starts off with the little girl who is super duper adorably drawn. And she falls off the couch. The dad comes and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm trying to do this double backflip kick I saw in this video game. Her mom comes in, and they're both kind of like chastising her a little bit, and telling her that she shouldn't do that, because if she does, she can fall and hurt herself, especially if we hit her head. And so they kind of encourage her to wait and maybe do it a little bit more safety. But the mom kind of wants her to continue to do it because it's something that she's enjoying. But she just tries to push her in the more let's be safe kind of route. And then it cuts to her, the little girl, 7 years later. She's in the mall. She goes and gets comic books. While she's getting comic books, it's these armed guys come in, and they try to rob the mall. They try to rob all the stores. Well, then the little girl starts to beat the crud out of him, which is kind of interesting because she's this little tiny, small little person, but she's not a little costume with the big sleeves and the big boots. And she fights all the bad guys, fights all the guys with guns, beats them up, and then the main guy kind of unleashes this one villain. That he's kind of a ninja, she's kind of a ninja, so they're fighting and they're kind of evenly matched. And then she ends up kind of somewhat winning not really though. She just kind of like this go to a standstill. But the main bad guy grabs an innocent bystander, throws him over the railing, and the little Sweetie jumps up and grabs him while they try to make an escape. And while they're making an escape, she gets up to the top of the roof and tries to stop them. And when she does, she beats them up and sends the police a text or a Instagram, was like, hey, you need to come get these guys. And then it shows her going back to her room where nobody's at. And then her dad sees her, and there's no mom anymore. And then it cuts to like a flashback. This backstory is a flashback. And it's her dad trying to give her a mattress that they got from a neighbor. And she's trying to attempt to do all these kicks and flips. And she's like, I got to do it, attempt number 4, fail. Attempt number 7, fail. And then she gets like attempt number 88, passed. And she goes, now I just need it 2 or 3 more times. And she ends up having a concussion. She's in the hospital with a concussion. So I have no earthly clue what they are doing with this. I have no idea what the premise of this book is. It's basically a little girl trying to be a superhero. And eventually she can dodge bullets. So I'm not for sure if she just trains really hard in 7 years and becomes a superhero. I don't quite understand it. I don't know if I want to pick up issue 1 or issue number 2, just because I'm not quite sure what issue 1 was about. But I'm slightly intrigued, and the art is really kind of interesting at times. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult because I'm not quite sure where her legs are at. Her legs look like they're all monotone colored, so they're monochromatic, so they all have like this brown hue to them. So it's hard to tell where her boots and her legs are. So sometimes I can't quite tell what she's doing. but it's this very stylized kind of art, almost a graffiti-esque kind of art. So I've kind of torn. Like, I'm not quite sure if it's my thing or not, or if the art's what's kind of throwing me off. I don't know. Like, so I might just pick issue 2 up just to be so I can figure out what's going on, because I'm more confused than I am actually intrigued. Which, I mean, honestly, if you're trying to get somebody to read the book, it doesn't matter how you get them. You just get them. So I would give it a 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'll see what issue 2 brings, and then I'll probably go from there and see if I want to collect it on a regular basis or not. But yeah, interesting books this week as far as number ones. Also digitally, I had a lot of books this week and I didn't get to read them all, unfortunately. I read Shazam number 3. I give that a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I love the art. I love the story. Lots of fun. They're kind of delving into this magical realms where there's supposed to be these 7 rulers over the 7 realms, but Mr. Mind kind of messed them up. And this particular story arc is this little boy trying to become the seventh person to help them. And so he wants to, King Kid is what his name is, and he is in charge of Funland, and he wants to be the 7th member of the family so that he can rule on the 7th seat. And so he's trying to get them to trying to get Billy Batson to tell him the word, the magic word. And Billy Batson said, "I can't just be like that. I have to feel like you're my brother, or feel like you're my family, in order to be able to have the magic word work." But Dale Inglesham, I love his work. He did JSA several years ago, and his art is so good. I love, like, his people look really great. They all look different. His lines are just fun, and like, even with the confusing, like, this first page spread is them eating in this big hall, and there's all these characters running around. It's really a treat for your eye to kind of look at all this stuff and look at the detail and everything. You can tell what everything is, and it's not like he just stopped in the middle of things and said, "I'm just going to quickly draw this." Like, everything looks like it's been really meticulously drawn. So I really love his artwork. But I would give that a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I really enjoy the story. I really like the premise of it. I'm super excited to see where they're going to go with it. So yeah, that's interesting. I also had to have Fantastic Four number 7. I didn't even get to it. Honestly, I'm not even really interested to see if I get to it. I bought it because I wanted to finish the story arc. But Fantastic Four has not been that impressive. I was really hoping for a lot of things. A couple years ago, they brought it back with what was his name? Crud, I can't remember. But they relaunched it with Alan Davis. They relaunched it with is it Wendigo? Anyways, they relaunched it with a couple like, they made it more of a science-y premise, like, where they did a lot more like fantasy adventures almost in space and stuff like that, and I really liked that. This one, I don't know what this is. Like, the relaunch is not very good. The story isn't very good. The art's interesting. I kind of like the way that that this artist has taken the family in a different kind of artistic flair, but it just doesn't work. I don't care. I don't want to know. There's, like, they're on issue 7. They're throwing everything at us. Like, they've already done, like, this big dire plot line with the kids, and they kind of brought in all the Fantastic Four, and then now they're into Galactus and Doom and this weird new herald of Doom. I don't know. I don't care that much. Like I said, I just got it, unfortunately, because I wanted to complete the arc. But as Jenny would have said, I'm a completionist, and she would have laughed at me because she knows I don't give up on things. Because I'm pathetic like that. I also did Extremist number 1. I did get to read that. Kind of interesting. It's the X-Men, the new Age of X-Men storyline. I really like the George Gentry. His art is really fun. He did Buffy for a little while, but it's about the team of X-Men that are trying to. They're kind of like the secret ops, the black ops of the group. They enforce the no love. Like you can't be within a relationship. You can't be married. You can't love somebody. You can't have sex with them. And they find this couple that has broken these rules several times. Because when they capture them, they capture them and they brainwash them. And so this group has actually been brainwashed. These two people have been brainwashed a couple times and kind of find out the girl's pregnant. And she's the first person that's ever been pregnant in years. So they like, what do we even do? We don't even know what to do with this. So interesting to see how that's going to go. Wonder Woman number 65. God. Willow Wilson has really, in my opinion, obviously everything's my opinion, but yeah, it's just not good. The story's boring. She spends like half the book flying. There's literally, let's see, one page where she's flying. There's 2 pages where she's flying. Let's see, there's a 3rd page she's flying to somewhere. She gets there, she fights, briefly fights. Then she's flying again. She flies back. She hugs, and then she flies back. Like, it is literally almost every other panel she's flying to or from somewhere, and like it's the boringest fight in the world. Here's this warrior Amazon, and the most she can do is, I know she's supposed to be like this truth and justice kind of warrior, but like she's also a warrior, and she doesn't fight anybody hardly. The nemesis creature or the nemesis god is just lame. I was really hoping this story arc would go somewhere, but it hasn't. Ever since the Witching Hour, it's just been downhill. Willow Wilson had a like 2 books where it was like animals. It was the Minotaur, a Pegasus, and a Pan creature, and those were the main characters of the book. And Wonder Woman was hardly in it. And it's Wonder Woman's book. Like, these people are supposed to be side characters, and Wonder Woman's hardly prominent in any of it. And they keep making. I think one of the biggest problems that DC or comic books have in general is they give these powerful people, these powerful superheroes, these lame villains like Lex Luthor. Like, I get it, he's supposed to be smart, I got it, but he's still human. And so it's really kind of dumb when he has to fight Superman. It's just, it doesn't work well. Like, I get it, he's supposed to have the, or he has armor or something happens, but it's just like, like, why can't you give them somebody that's powerful? Like, in this one, she doesn't fight Nemesis, but like, she shows up at her cave, Nemesis bites her, and she just uses her truth and justice serum to become, better, to realize Nemesis is really the bad guy. So then she finds Vanessa Kale, and she like hugs her. Yeah, another human that's fighting another god. It's boring, cliche. 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. Yeah, no. Silencer is actually getting really good. I really like it. I wish the art was a little bit better. This art has been on it for a little while, but honestly, I like the John Romita Jr. art, but I'm a weirdo like that. But I like that their storyline's getting back to kind of some fun stuff where she's kind of cleaning up the Talia's all their assassins. She's gonna go on after them, which I think is kind of cool. I like her fighting, so I'm glad there's finally some action, and I really like the way the story is going back on track again. So I give this probably a 5 out of 5 unicorn horns. Silencer is really fun. Martian Manhunter. So this book is, I'm learning, is really charged. Robbie Rossimo, I love your art. You are amazing. I think at some point, once I get something together, I will definitely attempt to get a commission from him, because his art is just fun and interesting. It's very kinetic, very action-y, very distorted, has a cartoony feel to it, but it has like a kind of some great proportions, some great, like, it works well with the aliens because he makes them look really interesting. But in this issue, they just talk about how he became John Jones, from John Jones to John Jones, the detective, and I really like it. It's fun read, and I feel like this actually makes Martian Manhunter a little bit more of a better character. Instead of the stoicness that he usually portrays. This one's kind of fun. So I give this probably a 5 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'm really enjoying it. But I've realized from the internet buzz and people talking about that they don't like it. There's a lot of people that are really hate it, and some people really like it. I feel like you definitely would probably be on one way or the other. I like that they give a dimension to a kind of a stoic character that's usually not very dimensional. And I like the art is very fun and playful, and kind of plays with that alien shape-shifting thing and lends itself to be able to do that. So I really like it. I did Heroes in Crisis number 6. Tom King was our boy for a while, but this one I'm getting kind of bored with. The art is stunning. I love it. It's like so picturesque and watercolory and just beautiful, and he has these Clayman has these solid lines that look really nice, but then he kind of has this almost blending and washed out watercolory look to everything. It's really amazing. I love this book's art, but the story is just so, there's nothing to it. Like, they haven't done anything. Like, it's issue 6 and they still haven't like gone further. They just keep replaying the same thing over and over again. It's like they're replaying Sanctuary, and I think they need to go somewhere. Like, I feel like it just wasn't. Yeah, I'm really upset. I really wanted it to be really, really good, and it started off pretty strong, and it's just kind of tapered off and become nothing. So yeah, they haven't revealed anything. They haven't done anything. So it's like they did 3 issues where it was really exciting, and now there's 3 issues of filler that I'm kind of getting bored with. Obviously, I'll collect it to the end just because I'm a completionist, but I'm a little disappointed. I was really hoping for some great stuff, but still nothing. Like, they could have done something with another character, showing something with one of the characters that maybe died and why they were, they could have had some reason that they got killed, or they could have done something, but it's just not. They haven't yet, which is really sad. West Coast Avengers, kind of starting off a new arc. It's got a lot of playfulness to it. A really fun story. They infiltrate this group because Norval, what is his name? It's not Captain Marvel. It's Boy Marvel or Marvel Boy. He's saying that they're Skrulls, and so they're going to infiltrate this group to see if they are Skrulls. And it's got a little bit more of a interesting ending. Like, they don't end up being Skrulls, they end up being vampires. And so I just really like the playfulness of this book. It's fun to read. There's not a lot of weight. There's not a lot of history. It has some fun characters. They even poke fun at themselves. They don't take themselves seriously as a book. But they still do have a little bit of seriousness behind it with some of the characters and their relationships. So I think they have a lot of fun with it. I'm really hoping the book can continue down this path and maybe become a little bit more serious. I really loved the Hawkeye series with Kate in it. That was one thing that I loved about it, was it had like these little jokes, these little inside things, but it had this weight with her dad and her mom, and her relationship with the Marvel Universe in general, her relationship with Hawkeye, her relationship which she has with one of her teammates. It was a fun book, and so I'm really hoping they kind of get more and more back to that, which is what they're kind of seeming to do. The first arc was kind of a silly arc with MODOK, which you can't really be really serious MODOK. It's just not possible with a big giant headed character. And then so I really like it though. It's 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. The art's kind of fun. So I'm interested to see where they're gonna go with this, and I really hope they can continue on and do good things. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so disappointing. I really wanted it to be really, really good because I'm a huge fan of Buffy. It's one of, as a matter of fact, I have a Buffy inspired email which I always have to give to everybody. But I am sorely disappointed. Like it's a reboot, but it's almost like they're changing things just to make it a reboot. Like they don't. I would have much rather them done a different Slayer. Like I wish they would have done something else. Like this, I'm not a particular fan of this. Like, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks about it. But you know, she already like her mom has a boyfriend she has to deal with, and Cordelia is actually kind of a decent person. She's nice, but she wants to be, you know, she wants to be class president, but she's not the ditzy mean girl. Like they almost make her like a smart mean girl, but she's not really mean. She's nice. Willow's already a lesbian. Xander kind of feels left out. It's a retelling, but it's not. I don't think it's different enough to be as good as the original, which I really think that's hard. It's not like an Elsewhere book or I feel like they've done reboots with Elsewhere books, like as far as the novels, which would have been a better premise than this. So I'm really bummed that it didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to. I'm interested to see what everybody else has to say about it, though. So I give it 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, which makes me really sad to say about Buffy, because that's probably one of my all-time favorite TV shows. One of my all-time favorite books that they did. I just really love the character, but not very well. Avengers No Road Home, number 3. I really like this series. I liked the other Avengers one. They did the weekly one. Paco Medina is doing the art so far. Really like that. I really love the characters. Are really fun. The story is kind of interesting. You know, it's kind of having some action, but it's in some different things and kind of twisting his characters up a little bit. And you know, like each of the characters that are involved have something going on, which I really like. So I'm interested to see how well they're going to do or finish it. 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. Really like it. X-Force number 3. So I really thought the art was kind of fun to begin with, but in this particular issue, it feels really, really rushed and really super sketchy. I felt like the other one almost was a cartoony feel, had a little bit of sketchiness to it, but this one it's getting like, it's almost like he's trying to get everything out really fast. So I was a little bit more disappointed in the book. However, Boom Boom did finally show up, which makes my day because she's hysterical. My life needs more Boom Boom. Yeah, it's okay. I'm really hoping they can get done with the story and change paces a little bit, and maybe find a new artist, hopefully at some point. But it's okay. 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. If you're an X fan, you may enjoy it. If you're an X-Force fan, you may not enjoy it as much because it definitely has a little bit of a different dynamic than the old X-Force book. So I'm curious to see, like I said, how well they're going to do with it, what they're going to do with it, what the future holds. So we'll see. Wicked and Divine, number 42. I really like the Wicked and Divine. It's a lot of fun. But I've said this 1,000 times with his Gillen McKelvey's books. It's almost like I'm missing a book, but it's getting to the point where it's getting to the end, so he's kind of explaining more and more things, and some of these characters are starting to have endings and finishing stuff up. So I actually really like this issue, and sorry, it's not Gillen McKelvey. McKelvey's the artist. What is his name? Now I've got to look. Kieran Gillen, that's right. He's the writer. And I've read a couple of his things. I think we actually had a book review, Uber, that he did. You almost feel like you're missing a book somewhere, or you're missing an episode, or you're missing something. But since he's starting to wrap things up, it seems like it gets better and better, and I really, really am enjoying it. But Jamie McKelvey was his art is, again, another stunning artist. Like his lines are so clean, everything's very colorful. It's a really well drawn book, and that's one of the reasons I stayed with it for as long as I have. But I think interesting to see the ending, and I can't wait till it's done, because I feel like once it's done, it's going to be a really good collection, I hope, depending on how they end it. But getting started is really hard. But I feel like once they end and you have an end in sight, you can definitely buzz through a lot of these and actually really enjoy this book. It depends on how well they end it. So 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, but I can definitely see where this is going to be a weird one for everybody to get into, and they may have quit it a long time ago. So I'm hoping that it ends well and that it's going to be a really great read, but only time will tell. So that's me being long-winded. Went through a couple new reads, which I feel like it's interesting. That's again why I created this channel, is to do some new stuff, read some new things, and have conversations. So if you get a chance, please like, share, subscribe, comment if you agree with me, comment if you don't agree with me, but tell me why. I'm interested to see why people feel the way they feel. I'm interested to see what they think about Buffy, what you thought, if you've read any of the new ones that I read, what your thoughts on those are, if you can. If not, maybe you can share and somebody else will enjoy and be able to talk about it. So if you get a chance, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for your time, and we hope until next week your pull list is full. Bye.